Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 46 of the Sickcast, aka the Siblings and
The Siblings and whatever podcast.
The Siblings and Old Partcord. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to episode 46 of the Sickcast, aka the Siblings and Cardboard podcast. I'm your host, Noah, joined by my buddy / co-host, Thomas and Donnie. Whether you're a veteran card gamer or a first-timer just testing the waters, we are all siblings in cardboard. Guys, how about that Pro Tour, huh? Who would have thought?
Yeah, I regret downplaying in our last recording because it was really exciting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was on the edge of my seat through the entire final series of games. Like all day Sunday, while I was supposed to be working, I was completely tuned into the Pro Tour.
I stayed up super late and watched like the first couple rounds and just couldn't handle it. Went to sleep, paused it where it was at, and came back and avoided spoilers and watched the rest of it because I really wanted to see how it played out. And I'm glad I avoided spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a wise decision. That was so cool to watch. I don't even think I had Uzuri on my radar.
Hey, you're spoiling the bit later.
Wait, Uzuri won?
Anybody that's watching our podcast or listening to our podcast at this point already knows.
I didn't know.
Necessarily true.
I had no idea Uzuri won. Thanks a lot, Donnie. Now I'm ruined. I'm spoiled.
As far as personal flesh and blood, other than like watching people play some Talishar games and watching the Pro Tour, we didn't have enough to fire on Friday. I almost feel like we should move away from firing on Friday, even though that's like really the only work day of the week that's good for me.
Sucks.
But because it's like consistently there's not enough people, and I understand it's like the middle of Atlanta on Friday. It's no one wants to drive through Atlanta traffic. I get it.
That, but it's summertime, and summertime you always kind of see a bit of a lull with armory attendance. At least that was the situation last year. Then once temperature started dropping, we started to see a few more people.
I hope so, because I can't make it the Tuesdays. I teach. I'll be free in November, and I'll get maybe a month or two of coming to Tuesdays. So I'm excited for that. Like, you can't imagine how much I look forward to my Tuesday Armory night being back online.
Yeah, I am convinced at this point that there is no chance I'll be able to get to my armories at all next month. It's going to be Talishar or bust, most likely. Unless I can get something started on Thursdays when there's the remote hope that I might have some free time in my double class schedule. And speaking of which, for those of you guys that are listening, you're going to be seeing a little bit less of me over the next month. Maybe definitely through August, possibly through September. I'm not entirely sure yet. Depends on what the September schedule looks like. But I've gotten a heads up on what my August schedule is going to look like as far as my classwork goes. And I can't do everything. I've got to prioritize real life for at least the next month. And then hopefully I'll be back, joining back in on the Sickcast like nothing ever happened. But I'm gonna be taking a break from the pod, from appearing on the pod for a little while. I'll probably still be doing the social medias and the live streams and stuff as far as talking or whatnot.
Well, we'll miss you here. We'll have to attempt to find a substitute.
We'll get you on some live streams. We'll sling some games on the weekend or something, or when you have time, we'll sneak in something. We'll figure something out. We'll try and coerce you in.
I mean, I can be easily coerced. It's just a matter of how much time am I gonna have? I mean,
you can also like, we'll give you that freedom, right? You take a break, but it also gives you the freedom to be like, hey, I do have time. I want to hop in and do a 4-person podcast, and we'll have our third picked out, and we'll introduce them next week.
Yeah, and I'll definitely give you guys a heads up. Well, you two. I don't know how I'd give everybody listening a heads up. Unless maybe I made an announcement on social media. Maybe we'll do that.
Hopefully you'll still have a little bit of time to chat on Twitter, whether you're on the official Twitter or you're on your personal Twitter.
I hope so. Just looking at what I've got going on as far as the classwork goes, just seeing into next week, I already know I'm going to be covered up. Gotta get through it. What's
School
on
and
the other side of
adulting
graduation is
first.
going to be worth it.
Absolutely.
That's what I got to keep in mind.
That's
Well-
the life of a student. You have your crunch times where you just really need to focus in. It's not worth being distracted. And I'm sure everyone will understand.
Yeah, I mean, I love doing this. I love the pod, and I love interacting with everybody. It's like I said, life is life. Got to take care of real life first.
You gotta do it. You got to do it. I'm going to attempt to make armories at some point. I'm either Tuesday or Friday. I mean, if we can fire on Friday, because I won't be able to do anything but Giga once I actually start my real work. So I don't get off till 7:30. So I will be pretty much forced into Giga, which I think is fine.
I'm
Because
down.
Saturday,
I'm down to come pick you up and take you to Giga on Saturdays.
yeah, I was gonna say Giga just it feels like Saturdays. It feels good because like Friday when I just want to go home. Saturday feels good as long as I wake up in time. I know I stay up way too late some days, but I definitely want to get in as many Tuesdays and Fridays as I can. It's gonna be rough just because you get home so late and I gotta turn around and be up. But you know, it's a sacrifice for the game. I do want to play. I miss everybody. I want to go see Chris and all
Game's
you guys. He's been asking for Marvel Betsy C-dubs for Lord knows how long, and I feel so bad. Like I gotta give you your Marvel Betsy, but I'm working on it. So that's definitely there.
Before we move on to the market, just want to point out we have a tournament coming up August 17th at Level Up Duluth. We have a Realm Invitational Qualifier, $30 entry, 500 plus prize package. Signups are very sparse at the moment, but I know people do last minute signups because I personally, I usually don't sign up till like the week before. So it's understandable. From poking and prodding, I know got a handful of Alabama people, handful of South Carolina people, maybe some Florida people all coming out. So hopefully it's going to be a good event. Join us here in Atlanta. I challenge the other Southeast people to come try to kick our butts. We're tough. We're a tough meta. Bring your
Atlanta
AB.
is a rough one.
Bring your AB.
Oh, dude. Last Tuesday, there were 3 Kanos out of the 11 people that were playing in the armory.
Hey, that almost sounds
You
like...
want to know how many of them I played against?
All 3.
Round 1, round 2, and then I got the bye in my opponent dropped out in the last round, so I had the opportunity to play the last one who got the bye. So I could have played all 3 Kanos during the armory last week.
You should play Prism. Easy.
Never gonna happen.
Okay, let's hop into the market minute. We've got a lot to talk about because man, they really popped off on news on Pro Tour.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did. All right, so we're gonna do this as fast as I can. Some of these are repeats, so I won't necessarily go into the cards. I say that because I'm gonna mention this card for probably the 3rd week in a row. I told you guys probably like 18 times that you should just buy the weakest link, and you probably didn't do it. Now it's $50 a card. So if you didn't buy the weakest link at 30, at 28, at whenever I told you that, it just keeps getting better and better. So yes, it's currently $48 a card.
It's like a required card for Levia, but I'm just not going to play Levia right now.
So I told you guys, weakest link is it. 2 cost, 6 attack, 3 block. When this hits a hero, look at their hand and choose a card without base block. If you do, they discard it, you draw a card. It's nuts. No point not running that. You need it. You need a play set.
Should get better in Rosetta with 2 wizards coming out. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah. No,
that's probably why it keeps going up.
So the next card, this one actually might be quite surprising. I lost it a little bit when I saw it. And that's Intoxicating Shot is up to $17 a card. Yeah, what? I know. And when I mean they're up, I mean like they're out on eBay, they're out on TCG Player. Like I don't know if this is like a conspiracy.
But why?
I asked myself the same question. I was like, man, I don't own any of these. Why?
I mean, maybe it's the supply is kind of low.
I
don't know. That's gotta be it.
That's gotta be it. I mean, Riptide is decent right now, but completely disappeared from the market.
Well, what I mean is
No,
usually
the
eBay
no,
lags
Azalea
behind a
Omri
little
deck is
bit.
coming.
A lot of the bright lights Majestics are kind of expensive.
What does that one do again?
It's a-
Intoxicating.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, it's a blue arrow. So pitches for 3. It costs 0. 4 attack, 3 block, Riptide specialization. When this hits a hero, they create a courage and quicken token.
So the concept behind it is it basically makes all his traps trigger, unless they specifically play Command and Conquer for 7 go again.
Yeah, which would suck, but
It is
I
a
couldn't
good arrow
remember.
though. It's like one of the beyond his traps. It's one of the best blues, but then other than maybe Bolt and Shot, blue Bolt and Shot's still better than this, but it is really strong. I don't understand it being that expensive, other than just there's not a lot of bright lights Majestics in the market.
I don't know. I don't know why it went up either. There's nothing that really warrants it. I don't necessarily think the Riptide gets any better as a make or break deck without it. Like, I know Riptide's actually in a pretty good spot, but I don't think it's because of Intoxicating Shot. But who knows? Maybe there's something cooking in the background. There are a lot of weird things that have been happening on the market, and so I'm just going to kind of fly through them because I think these are more flukes than anything. I don't necessarily think these are real. But every single Marvel for Tekla Vossen, minus the headpiece, has went through the roof. They've been completely bought out to a specific price. So that means that the Evil Steel Soul controller is up to $74, bought out completely up to that price. The Marvel headpiece has been bought up from like $20 all the way up to $44. And the processor has been bought up as well, including the tower. I don't know why. It's just the Marvels. It's very weird. Maybe people just keep calling the bottom line until Tekla becomes really, really good. But there's some weird things happening. I don't think anybody should make a move on that. I don't think it's real as of yet. I think if you wanted those cards, just go find them elsewhere at a later time. They will go back down. Tekla's not going to be good for a couple of metas. It's just not his time yet. He will be good, but they need to figure out how they want to do that hero identity.
I think they figured it out, and I just think it's not a play pattern that can be good without being busted.
Yeah. And well, honestly, I feel like in Rosetta they could afford to give him 1 or 2 base equipment slots that have Arcane Barrier built in. Like the Cogworks base stuff already has abilities, so there's precedent for putting the abilities on the base equipment, and that would actually give him a shot into the Arcane heroes, because trying to find the Evos to have AB, just that's not where he wants to be.
That would be the one thing I would say would be effective, is if they gave him like Majestic tier base equipment, right? That's the only thing I could really think of.
They got to be kind of toned.
AB1.
It doesn't really affect his end game plan anymore, right? It just makes his early game better, which sounds fine, probably.
He's a weird one.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if you want the like play patterns, why not just play Prism? You gain life off of putting the angels into play, and you actually have a broken end game combo too with Vestige and stuff.
Prism.
Gaining life is touchy, but they're going to also put out Verdance, who's going to gain a ton of life too.
Yeah. Speaking of gaining life, it's back on the rise. Poison the Well. Don't ever say it's not a real card. It's back on the rise. I will see it to the moon if I could. The only one that's at the lowest right now is a light plate at $5.60, and then it goes up to $8 a card. I promise that card will be $15 a card, whether anybody likes it or not, because Poison the Well is real.
You're going to have to put your snags in for new. You're going to put Poison the Wells in for Verdance.
You're going to have a lot of non-blocks.
You're just going to have a sideboard full of crappy ultra-specific blues. You need
that's just going to make Weakest Link call them
exactly. That's what I was going to say. And Weakest Link still gets better no matter what. So the card's still going to go up. So let me tell you, if you haven't bought it,
me, you got to put that in too. Warmonger's Diplomacy, you got to put that in.
I think that blocks too. So you got a couple. Brainstorm's also on the rise. I know why people think it's an actual card now because of Ocilio, but let me tell you, it's
interesting.
It's not. I don't know. You only get to do it
No,
for that turn.
Hold on. Have you watched Brainstorm, Kano? I think just from the card pool we have, a Brainstorm Acilio could be a real deck.
He needs, I guess he just needs access to more draw. I mean, I guess there's enough draw in the game. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Discard instant, draw a card.
He goes. He
that's
goes
one
through,
turn. Once per turn.
He goes through 6 cards a turn cycle.
So you have to have Brainstorm, and then you play Brainstorm for 3 mana, and then you deal 6 damage. I don't know.
It scales way harder than that. I think you need to just like hit up Siphon or something and have him demonstrate Brainstorm Kano to you.
It hasn't moved that much. It's moved, but Brainstorm hasn't jumped yet. It's currently at $3 to $4 a card, which I think is actually a big jump from its 40 cents, considering the card was absolutely useless. I like the idea that it has a potential. So Brainstorm's on the rise. It's definitely a speculated fan favorite. None of the other Lightning cards have. Blink or Channel Lightning Step have moved. Neither has Channel Mount Heroic. Everybody's kind of stagnant on how they're going to do with those heroes. Battering Bolt's on the rise because I think Azalea realizes it's actually a really good card.
CMH isn't going to move. See, the Tales of Aria CMH isn't going to move since we've got the cold foil ones coming out in skirmish season.
True.
Oh, is that the cold foil? Well, they've finally done it. They finally pulled out the whole ones. And then last but not least, I know Guardian's still absolutely just dumpster, bottom of the barrel. I'm sorry to any of the Guardian players. Starstruck's $5 a card. So I'm just letting you know if there was ever a chance you wanted a Starstruck.
I've been seeing people play testing other versions of Bravo too. So maybe he might start showing up again.
50% conversion rate at the Pro Tour. Day 2.
So just a couple of things to keep in mind. Brainstorm might be a real card. You probably want to get it before it blows up. Get your Starstrucks. You better have your Poison the Wells. And if you haven't got your Weakest Links by now, they're about to go Codex to Frailty level to the moon. So they could be $60 by the next major tournament. No joke. And they're only going to get better.
Feel sorry for anybody that wants to jump into the Assassin class now.
We're going to talk about that, though, because there's a key card in that deck that is a lot of Assassins play, and he doesn't play it. Oh, yeah, it's there. It's a 6. It's just absolutely not in that deck list. It's the first thing I noticed. I looked at it, and I went, he doesn't even run it. And I was like,
nope. That was
interesting.
That was, we'll talk about it, but that was a very targeted deck list.
Yep. It was there to hurt the top 2 play decks, and I think it was well crafted.
Oh my god.
Dude. Well crafted.
Did you watch those games? Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. I cannot wait to talk about those games.
Yeah. It was something.
Let's roll in. Let's roll into the roadmap.
Okay. Yes. The roadmap we got was not the combination of the organized play and product release. It was just product release. And we got a pretty surprising announcement, right? That one of the new Armory decks that are going to come out next year is going to have a new hero in it. So our prediction that they might occasionally use Armory decks to inject new heroes into the meta without having to put an entire set out is true. And I can tell you exactly why this is happening is their commitment to never do expansion sets again. So they occasionally want to put a hero that may not play well into limited, or they feel like the meta is going to need something, but it won't ever fit. It doesn't fit in that limited format and so on. This allows them to put a new hero in. They see a hero LLing, and my guess is maybe another mechanologist.
I think it's going to be Terra.
You think they'll do an adult Terra? They'll kind of let it see what it does in Blitz and move on. I think adult Terra is a good guess. An ice hero, I think, is another good guess.
It might be ice. I mean, they already brought out a Guardian. We already got the Blitz Guardian. I mean, they could make an adult version of him.
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
Terra.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're talking. These are the armory decks.
I was thinking of what's her face, the Earthlore Bounty one for some reason. I can't think of the name of the. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, who knows? It could be Volda. But and that could also be in the Mastery Pack Guardian, which was the other thing that was announced. So March 2025, we're getting like a set. It's like a pseudo set.
Guess so.
It's like only Guardian. It's 140 cards, and it's going to be compatible with the Cracked Shuffle Play format, where you buy three packs, shuffle them together, and just play. Which clearly that's what you kind of have to do if you're going to do Cracked Shuffle Play, is make it all one class.
I think they learned their lesson from Bright Lights. It will probably be a long time, if ever, if we see a single class main set again. Especially if this is the direction that they want to go with it, is in introducing these mastery sets. I mean, I think this is a good idea. It's just we'll have to see how it actually.
That's why I kind of guess Mechanologist, because Dash is going to go out soon, just by attrition. She's going to pick up points here and there, and they don't really want. Maybe they do it anyway, just to have like an ending to the buildup from they did with Bright Lights. But if they don't want to do that, then the only way they're going to be able to introduce Mechanologists in a meaningful way is through either like this Mastery Pack or Armory decks.
We still got 3 new Mechanologists in Dio, Max, and Tekla. That's a lot of mechs that just came out.
Right, but you're losing a play style that doesn't exist once Dash goes away.
We're getting an Ice Ranger. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, like Ice Ranger.
Because we're losing Azalea at some point. Riptide's going to be the only Ranger in the meta, and we need another Ranger. And Ice isn't real. And they want to deal with they want Chilling Ice Vein and Frostlock back. I don't know why they do, but they just want it back. So I hope everybody's ready for Smice.
I want to play Ice. I want to disrupt.
Yeah,
play new disrupts.
Yeah, Assassin is fun. And so is Ranger. Ranger disrupts as well. As far as organized play, we know that the next 2 will be in Europe and the APAC region. And that kind of leaves us guessing that Worlds will be somewhere on our side of the planet.
Yeah, the way he said it was very strongly hinted without giving anything away at all. Because he said, I wonder what that could mean for Worlds, since we're going here and not here.
Yeah, it could be South America too.
I mean, that's possible.
Which also means lots of traveling for everybody. But I would be excited to travel. And the only reason I didn't try to do either of the international ones this year is just didn't line up. Didn't have time to save up. But yeah, I will have time to save up for next year to maybe do some international traveling. So I hope to get that in.
That'd be really cool.
So world premieres seem to be a thing now that they're going to keep consistent, which I really like. I was also kind of hope that they do like the big reveals through the world premiere too. I think it's really good to give content creators stuff, but also think in a way it little bit diminishes the hype.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think at least part of the decision to move the biggest chunks of the set to the world premieres has to have something to do with Talishar, right? The fact that people are getting access to the set and able to test stuff ahead of the actual release. I mean,
but the world premiere
everything is only available in the open format, but
the world premiere comes a week before the pre-release, and I think traditionally the full blitz of all the cards getting released typically happens a week before the pre-release as well, right?
Yeah, but up to that point, we see Legendary and Majestics here and there from content creators, and those are a lot of the power cards that go into the new decks. So that's a lot of the stuff that we saw in the open format when everybody was chomping at the bit to get their hands on Part the Misfail stuff. But I don't know. I like the way that they have been doing it with the content creators, but I can see how this makes sense too.
Well, we're getting both, right? That's what I like. The content creators, they'll just probably distribute less. There'll be a smaller selection of content creators that get the cards, and some of the bigger ones will be left to be popped at the world premiere, right? And also, like, I think the world premiere is just quote unquote an excuse to have another high tier event where there's not like a lot on the line. It doesn't require an invite. You just show up and either play world premiere calling or battle harden, and it's just a big celebration of the game. and a fun way to get product even earlier than normal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a giant party. I mean, that sounds really cool. So, yeah,
I like
all
the
for that.
format.
I think that having the release at the world premiere is really nice. Obviously, it just makes more of a, I guess, a reason to go to the event. Not saying that there isn't a reason to go to it, but you definitely feel like you'd be missing out if you didn't go to that event. But I also feel like they could give the content creators some of like the early cards. You know, like we get a lot of these cards up front just out of nowhere with the trailer and other random things. So if you're gonna do that, I think you can just deviate and let the content creators have the early cards. Maybe have some of the some of the big discords, you know, spoil the hero powers and things like that, or you know, the weapons. Like
Well, hero
there's
powers
still a
and
way to
weapons
get.
always come out pretty early. It's like some of the first.
Well, we
stuff,
didn't know some of the hero powers for a hot minute, but like there's still a way to let them flesh the class out, like with the weapon, with anything. Like we got most of these majestics just thrown at us, and I feel like that's an opportunity. So give us the heroes, give us no text box, whatever. Let people spoil that, and then if you really want us to like mysteriously find the set, like you have to go find them in the you know, like the shops or whatever, and their new cards are just sitting there. Like things like that are super cool. It's like an Easter egg hunt, but just there's a good balance to it. But now you do kind of feel like, wow, if I don't go to Tampa Bay for this release, like I'm missing out on all these cards. And so like I'm definitely
FOMO
going.
is real.
Yeah, like I was already planning on it. I bought my package before I even bought the flight or anything. I was like I got to solidify it. So like one way or another, I'm taking those that Monday, that Friday off, and I will be there. I already know that there's going to be some of my buddies there. Joel already said he's going down. I don't know if Brandon's going down, but I haven't seen him in like 80 years. It feels like. So I'm like just so excited to just lose Flesh and Blood, just lose at the games, and just buy up a bunch of random product and promos. Like I have never wanted to go lose at Flesh and Blood more in my life than on a set I have no idea about any of the heroes. And I don't even play Rune Blades and Wizards.
We do have earlier access than even the premiere for some of the Rosetta cards. First strike decks, I think, go out on the weekend of Gen Con, August 23rd. So I think they're playable right from that day. So you can go and pick up those cards. And I think they're even like legal in like Blitz events starting then.
So. Well, the young heroes are, but I think the cards themselves would be fully legal. Obviously, you can't use the young heroes in CC, but there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to use the rest of the stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. I think all the card pool becomes legal like immediately as soon as the product is released, and the first strike deck's technically released on August 23rd. We'll get an injection of new Earth and Lightning cards because we're getting Aurora and Terra.
I'm actually pretty excited about Aurora. I know people are all about Accilia and stuff like that, but I actually really want Aurora to be good. I just think she's going to be hope she's going to be really aggressive. The trailer got me super duper hyped about it. I love that Acilia's kind of this mentor figure. I thought it was great. Even Florian like sounded like such a little pompous boy that I still want to play him too. Like I was like, man, I was like, they're really making this hard.
Does that mean that like young Acilio is like nap time Acilio? He's like sleeping in that picture and he's awake in the older picture? Because what does young mean in this context? He's a giant like arcane construct that woke up because all of the big bad evil guys underneath the planet are coming awake.
I think that's what that's implied, because it almost looks like he's like a museumed out, like he's kind of on display in the young thing, like people are looking at him, and then like he's actually awakened and like floating around. So I actually think that is the case, that everybody's like, yeah, this is a sleeping construct. He's, you know, like it was active at one time and now he's actually active and you know, old.
It's just how does Azalea take on this thing? That I remember that meme, like shoot a bow at it.
Yeah, you just shoot it.
He somehow only has 36 health. He must be made of paper mache.
He's got 36 HP because they're worried about some crazy things, which they should be, because anytime you give a hero draw card, it's usually access to free hand filter is absolutely nutty in most of these card games.
So one notable thing that we got to see is there is a difference between Florian and Verdance and their adult forms, just like people guessed. In their young forms, you only need 4 of the Earth cards to start triggering their effects, but in Classic Constructed, you need 8.
Yeah, that's another reason why I think the Rosetta heroes are gonna beat up on new.
They like you help them out by banishing some of their cards. That's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, you do speed them toward their end game a little bit with that. They're gonna have to be kind of defensive. It's not gonna be hard because they have access to uh, uh, the embodiment of Earth, and so they're going to be naturally very very hard to hit. They're going to have access to some great D reacts, and the life gain on both of those heroes is actually pretty insane. I mean, Verdance does exactly what we thought.
We need to see their weapons. Like these heroes that are tankier and more durable, they really rely on their weapons to extract value.
I got a feeling that Verdance's weapon is going to synergize well. I mean, she already has a I'm gaining life and pinging you type thing, which is already really, really good. And Florian has the ability to generate multiple tokens. So him having 2 embodiment of Earth is pretty much like pre-errata Briar, which we all know how absolutely busted that was. I mean, I didn't play it, but everybody was like, that's like 6 embodiment of Earth. So like his card's blocking for 12. What do I do? Nothing. You don't do anything. You just have somebody put a 1 card 8 block in front of you and say, well, that's it. That's like, yeah, that actually is it.
That was fun.
That was a really interactive turn where that 1 card blocked out my entire 4 cards. Nice.
I think
so. It's gonna be interesting.
I think even more exciting though, for a lot of people, is the new type of card we got. They're not called split cards; they're called meld cards.
I have a hate-love relationship already for these.
Yeah,
I'm not joking. This is it's the MTG
it's just like this. Hey, MTG did it. Let us do it too.
I was hoping we didn't ever get to this point, and it's not necessarily like MTG because I think MTG you have to pick one side. This one you get to cast both, and it's like
no, there was a mechanic in Magic where you could entwine the 2 halves and play both halves for a higher cost.
No,
so
it's
still
just
kind of similar.
I don't mind it because you see that these are very much valued at the point of you usually want to play both, but maybe there'll be instances where you don't or can't. And when I say that you can't, I'm guessing that, like, for example, Thistlebloom Life has one side is Runeblade, the other side is Earth. I'm guessing for limited sake that if you are an Earth, you could play only the right side, but you could still have it in your deck despite it being a Runeblade action. I really doubt that this is a Earth Runeblade only card. I can almost guarantee the errata is going to come out. Only. You think so? I could almost guarantee when the errata comes out that they let you have this if it qualifies for either one, but you can't play it unless you have the ability to.
That feels like it would open up a big old can of worms that is better left unopened.
I mean, it's only something that works with the meld violations
and stuff.
Is it a rules violation? Is this 2 different cards?
I mean, what would you do? Would you like Sharpie out the other half?
No, you just can't play it. It says you may play one or both halves of this card. Each costs 0. You just can't play the other side.
I honestly think it would be fine if they just left it like Donnie's suggesting, where you have to satisfy both. It makes them very centric to the heroes, which is probably fine, considering that I think they're going to get played by those that want to. Although the way that Life and Thistlebloom look, it almost just screams Verdance, but Verdance isn't. You know what I mean? Like if you're going straight off of art and stuff, it's like, why wouldn't that be a Verdance card? But I almost hope not, because she doesn't need access to literally free life gain on instant speed outside of Sigil. Like, come on, like this is what kind of a game are we playing?
Oh yeah,
and Poison the Well's
what do you think her card pool is going to be?
Well.
Poison the Well's a real card, everybody. I just want to remind you guys that if this is the way it's going to be, and there's 900 cards in her deck that say I'm gaining life, I want you to understand I'm going to be running 86 Poison the Wells. Okay, I'm gonna have them all. Too many Poison the Wells.
So sorry for that poor horse you just keep beating.
It'll
all the way to death.
It'll be really interesting to see where it goes.
So many Poison the Wells.
Like, are these wizard cards and Earth cards, or are they Earth wizard cards? Right?
We're gonna have to figure it out. I'm sure there's some rules that need to be fleshed out. I'm not against them wholeheartedly, like as a whole. I think having counter spells and negates is actually kind of neat. It gives wizards a little bit more of an identity, although really now we're getting into other magic territory, where I'm just gonna be playing a blue wizard, which is literally just sitting there, haha, negate again. So it's like, well, if we ever get there, that's fine by me, because that's what I want to play anyway. So
let's read these out. The first one is a majestic. It's Thistle Bloom in Life. It's a yellow 0 cost 3 block. And its two sides are, the first is create X rune chant tokens, where X is the total life you've gained this turn, and it's a rune blade action. And the right side is Earth instant, gain 1 life. So the synergy here is that you gain 1 life, you create 1 rune chant just off the card as a base, which is a yellow 0 for 2 without go again, by the way. No go again. So it seems weak in a vacuum, but we've seen other heroes. It could have a lot of synergy, right? Because Florian can double up the number of rune chants he makes, and so on.
When can you play that? Like, can you play it at instant speed, like any time, or can you just play
the Earth side at instant speed at any time, but the other side is an action.
I think we're going back to Donnie's, and this is Florian targeted. You spellbound Creeper on the instant to gain the action point, then you play it for free.
No, you don't get an action point.
No.
It doesn't go. Does it not have go again? No, but
Thistle Bloom Life does not have go again. This is strictly a defense. This it's a 0 for it's a 0 cost card. This is like a card that, like, oh, I blocked 9. I'm going to gain some life and create some rune chants and wait for next turn. That's the kind of play style this card will probably use. But
it's Florian.
In a pinch, you could gain a life to throw someone off guard, thinking that they were going to present lethal. I don't know why you would never gain the life. Maybe there's a reason you want to be at a lower life total. I guess if Scar for a Scar is in this set for some reason, like, that would be a good reason not to gain the life.
Speaking of Scar for a Scar,
it's a good card for this set.
Those Final Fighting Spirit promos are my lord.
Yeah.
If I don't have at least 19 of those, which isn't even full play sets, 18, 20, 21, one of those times 3, you're divided by there you go. One of those. I'm gonna be sad. I need those. Those things are gorgeous. Finals is a really fun card.
It's notable that's a majestic. So even in draft, that's going to be like really rare. And it doesn't seem extremely high impact. I don't look at Florian and think this makes me want to pick Florian looking at majestic. So that's another reason I think that you'll be able to use only one side of the card and possibly have it in your deck. The next card is rare though, so it'll be a bit more common. And it's red, so maybe it comes in a full set of colors. But I have my doubts because I don't know how it would scale correctly then. It's red, 0 cost, 3 block, called Burn Up / Shock. Also meld. The Burn Up side is a rune blade action. The next time an attack you control hits a hero this turn, deal 4 arcane damage to them. Go again. And the Shock side is deal 1 arcane damage to any target. Lightning instant. I understand why you'd play this as an instant one damage. And that's because of the channel Lightning Valley, right? You can zap someone for 1 on the opponent's turn and draw a card. I don't understand why you wouldn't play the Shock ever, though. So, a 0 for 4 +1 seems really overrated. The attack has to hit. But if you hit with the attack, this is 5 arcane damage with 1 card.
Yeah, it's a 0 for 5. And it blocks for 3.
And it blocks for 3. This card seems really strong.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, 0 for 5. I will make an addendum. There is another 0 for 5 from Outsiders. What's it called? The one that says if this hits, they lose 5 life. That card is unplayed. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's like
toxicity, right?
yeah, toxicity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that card is dog. So maybe it's less good than I think. It's probably fine and limited for sure. I think because of the versatility of being able to zap someone for 1 at instant speed, it's probably a solid card. Next
And arcane
card.
damage is different.
Next card, Life Comes Back. This is a rare Pulsing Aether Life. It's a red card, but it costs 1. It's a block 3. The Earth side is an instant and it's gain 1 life. So even though it costs 1 more, it's a red pitch. You still only gain 1 life off of it. So it didn't scale the life up. It's not gain 2 life. Pulsing Aether is a wizard action, and it's deal 4 arcane damage to any target. So wizard action, Earth instant, deal 4 arcane damage, gain 1 life for 1. This seems really strong. A 1 for 4 is fine, regardless of format. Even when it doesn't have go again, it's still playable, and it gains a life. So with Verdance, this could be a 1 for 5.
Yeah, and once you pay the 1, you get to play both, right? Sorry.
Yes.
No. You have to pay 1 for both halves. So you end up paying.
Oh,
2
each
total.
costs 1. Oh, you're right. So this is 2. Ooh, man. The ones that cost resources scale up really expensive.
Yeah.
Ouch. I didn't read that clearly enough. Each costs 1. This makes the life side seem much worse, right? 1 for 1 life. It's a little better with Verdance's hero ability because you get to zap someone for 1 if you've got 8 or more Earth cards in your banished zone. That one seems less good than Burn Up and Shock in Limited, but I don't know. A 1 for 4 might also be prime real estate.
Let's see. I mean, I expect there to be a lot of go again stuff in the lightning half of the set. But
That's true. Maybe it might be pretty easy to give Pulsing Aether go again.
well, embodiment of lightning is going to be a thing from Aurora, so that may be where we're getting all the action points at.
Yeah, we'll see, but Acilio might have a way to generate action points, so that might be like his thing, right? Where he gets to play multiple spells a turn, not because he's turning them into instants, but he has a way of generating an action point or 2.
Maybe high octane wizards.
Yeah, like a way of making like 2 or 3 light embodiments of lightning in a turn. All right, the next one is a majestic yellow. This is a non-block, null and shock. Yay, counter spells. This is what Noah was talking about earlier. The wizard side is a wizard instant. If target instant card has cost less than the total arcane damage you've dealt to opposing heroes this turn, negate it.
The target instant?
Yes, it's very specific.
Now, what happens if I play something as an instant because of Spellbound Creepers? It becomes an instant or no?
No, that it is still an action card.
Yeah, it's still an action
because you
card.
play it at
You play it
instant speed
as
doesn't
an
do an
instant.
instant.
As an instant. Oh,
There could be cards that give it the instant typing, like literally give it the instant typing, but Spellbound Creepers is not an instance of that. The other side is lightning instant, deal 1 arcane damage to any target. I think this will be not used at all in limited, and this is strictly some kind of weird meta CC card. It doesn't block. It's a yellow. It's really specific. It's a 1 for 1 on the damage side of it. But maybe... Oh, and it's situational. You have to actually have a way of dealing arcane damage when you do it, other than the 1 arcane damage on the other side, but you're paying 2 to do that. I don't know. There's a lot of hoops to jump through to make the null side of this work.
I mean, maybe, but if you play that and then respond with a instant speed arcane, some kind of arcane damage at instant speed, then it stacks, right? So you can
Yes.
get up to what you need to get to.
So I imagine you get to choose the order that each effect goes onto the stack when you play the cards. So you could do null, then put the shock on the stack, and then do some other arcane damage source on the stack. Let that resolve, let the next one resolve, and then you've got maybe 4 arcane damage dealt to your opponent, and you could null out something that's 4 or less. I am most excited to see someone play a null and shock, and then someone null and shock their null and shock. That's what I'm most excited to see. And I think that might be the biggest gotcha we see here is 2 people had the nads to play null and shock, and the one who played it first is the one who lost.
I mean, how many instances are actually in the meta right now that see common play? Just
Man,
the only one I can think of is Sigil of Solace.
Art of War. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the Transcend cards.
Also, yeah.
I think it says has cost less than the total arcane damage, so you still have to hit them for 1.
Ping them for 1, and you can counter target transcend spell,
Yeah.
so that they don't get the resources back in their hand and they don't transcend.
Yeah, that's if they don't have AB, right? But you rip a card out of their hand to pay for the AB, so you could be disrupting. It's almost like ice in a way. It's funny.
It's almost like Rosetta was designed to counter MST and bring it back down to a reasonable power level. Maybe I got my tinfoil hat on here, but I don't know about this Rosetta thing coming out, guys.
I mean, these cards are kind of.
I don't know about this set,
but I like them. I like the creativity. I don't think cards have to be good to be added to the pool, because they could be bad coming out and become better later, right? Like Poison the Well. Our next one, rare as well. It's a red. It's a 2 cost, 3 block. It's Wizard Lightning Meld. The wizard side is Comet Storm, deal 5 arcane damage to any target, and the shock side is deal 1 arcane damage to any target. It's lightning instant. So this is a 2 for 5. That's the normal on rate for wizard actions. If you have extra resources, it allows you to do another 1 damage. I think what's notable here is that if you have something like Aether Wildfire on the stack, this is wild. Because the 5 damage will get dealt, and then the 1 damage will get dealt, and they both get the plus damage. And that's worth the 4 resources at that point. Because if your Aether Wildfire dealt like 6, then this becomes a 4 for what? A 4 for 17? 4 cost 17. It's pretty good.
multiplicative damage is dumb.
4 cost 18. 17, 18. Yeah. Ban Aether Wildfire.
Maybe.
I think that's it for the split cards. I really think there's going to be a lot more of them. And we might see some color range. Notably, we didn't get any blues. So at the moment, they are a significant tax on your deck to put in there. Those are like reds and yellows, and they need to do work. And they're all, if depending on the ruling, they're all very specific, right? If the ruling is you have to match both sides to put them in your deck, you're kind of lining yourself up to play that one hero by pulling this card. All right.
We'll see.
What do you guys think? Do you like split cards?
Go ahead, Noah.
I don't. I mean, like, look, I think it's a cool idea on paper. You get a chance to get 2 cards into 1. It like saves space. You create something kind of fun. But I just think that we've been okay with solo cards. I feel like it's easier to evaluate power because it's 1 card doing 1 thing, rather than now you have to evaluate what's the power, like how am I supposed to value this card in certain situations. And then some of them have like the block value for both. You know, I don't know. I think it's a great concept. It kind of inflates and sort of makes the value game a little harder to determine. And I guess in a game that's so closely related to chess or a fighting game where you need to kind of like, you know, eke out some type of like, you didn't see that one coming, I guess. But it seems too much like another game. And I'm not saying it's not a cool idea to cross things over, but I didn't think it was needed. I just don't think that we needed some dual cards. Because like, what's next? Seriously, like We gonna have adventures too?
So-
We're, you know, like,
I
Come
only
on.
like it. I only like it if my opinion on the ruling is what's true. That if you match either side of the card, you could play it in your deck. Whether that means you can only play the one side because you can only play what you match, or if they just let wizards play Runeblade actions.
But
I don't really care.
if they do that, what was the point of making a meld card to begin with then?
Because it is now a deck, a card. Like, let's, for example, let's look at Null. It's a wizard instant, lightning instant, right? So Acilio can play it, and Aurora can play it, and Verdance can play it, right? So the only one who can't play it is the one who doesn't match any of the two, which is Florian. I like that from a perspective of limited. I think that's a lot of fun. And there could be some interesting interactions where if you play a card that's not your starting class, you do X thing, right? So if they make meld an actual keyword that's utilized in the game, I could see some really fun things they could do with these cards. But if it's just a reason to cram two cards together and you could only play it if you match both sides, why didn't they just make it one card?
Well, because splitting it up into two cards is a new and interesting mechanic, and it also adds a whole new level of complexity to each of the turn cycles. I mean, choosing whether to block with this with a meld card or play one half or play both halves it's going to add so many more decision trees into these heroes. It's not even funny.
But you can only play both half if it's stuck to where you have to match both to play it. That card only goes into one deck. It didn't really make the card pool very interesting.
Well, but now Acilio gets two cards to play technically because he's got a 6-card wide hand. Because if you think about it, because he gets to play both halves, whether or not they're relevant or not.
No, these cards, some of them have a full card of value on one side, but really to make the cards worth playing, you kind of need to utilize both most of the time. I think like the exception is the Comet Storm Shock. A 2-for-5 wizard action isn't like necessarily crazy. And a 4-for-6 is definitely not crazy, but a 4-for-6 that's 2 instances of damage. I mean, we've got a card that does that already, right? Chain Lightning or whatever it is that does 2 and 2. It's not Chain Lightning, I don't think.
I think Forked Lightning.
Forked Lightning, yeah. Why would you play this over Forked Lightning? Forked Lightning's yellow. The base.
My biggest. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, I think my biggest complaint with the meld cards is that LSS had to know that there was going to be this comparison to the split cards from Magic, and they just completely ignored the naming convention and went way off of what Magic did, and just completely ignored the puns and the play on words. I mean, with the split cards of Magic, that's something that I really enjoyed, like shock and awe and that kind of thing. I mean, the names just, there's no connection to the names of the cards, and the effects don't really feel like they're
exactly. So it needs to have
it's weird.
It needs to have a reason that you're playing a meld card. They don't have flavor. They really don't.
Yeah,
Comet Storm
the
and
flavor
Shock
is off.
Yeah, there's no flavor here. So they need to have functionality. All right, we're already running into our hour. We haven't even talked about the Pro Tour top 8. Let's knock out a couple. Yeah, let's knock out a couple more of these. We added a macro card. For people who aren't familiar with macro cards are similar to equipment. They start in the arena, and if you are playing a certain format or whatever the macro says, you just do it. It's just there for you to have. Specifically, we have Sanctuary of Aria. It is a Rosetta macro. You start the game with this in the arena when playing a Rosetta limited format. It's similar to the headpiece from Uprising, Helios Mitre or something. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Where it's a token, so everyone just gets that headpiece. So everyone when you're playing limited, you get this macro, and it's a instant pay 2, prevent the next 1 damage that we dealt to you this turn by a source of your choice. Destroy this at the beginning of the end phase. Notably, you could do this multiple times in a turn. You just have to destroy it at the end of the end phase. Only playable in Rosetta Limited format, so it's not like you get it as a Rosetta hero.
Yeah, they said that the macros are something that they're going to start using more often in limited formats, and they are changing the definition of limited formats and what that actually entails. Uh, a limited format is going to be any format that consists of cards from a single set. So we're going to see more macros. It. Do you think you're only going to be able to play one of these? Like you're only going to have access to AB1 through a limited game?
I'm thinking that we might get some Spellfray style stuff. I don't know if we'll get straight up AB, but maybe that it was the promo card. It was a promo card at Pro Tour, so maybe they're reprinting some AB. Yeah, it's hard to tell until we see more cards, but there are some bursty arcane cards, and not being able to block those will be an issue.
I hope that we don't get too much AB outside of, like you said, Spellfray. I feel like it's gonna make the limited games quite long.
Yeah, especially with life gain.
Yeah, the power of some of these attacks are probably already gonna be scaled down. Because you've got adverse effects of like Runeblade doing arcane damage, Wizards doing arcane damage, and so if you're just able to pretty much AB off the pings, these limited games are not going to be quick. I mean, because you're going to recycle those cards. The whole point is you need to be pulling cards out of your deck, and so I like that your only access is a prevent one. So you have to be really kind of mindful about, okay, like what am I trying to prevent, and okay, if I'm using that pitch here, am I really going to pay my resources right now for one damage, not knowing what the rest of it is? So Spellfray, cool. Actual AB, not too much. Unless there's just not that many blues in the set, but
or there's not going to be AB. They said there's no null rune.
Yeah, or it's like 2 cost AB, like it's AB2 or something. So it's much more expensive, and it's harder to block out pings. Okay, we've got 3 generic attacks that were revealed, and I like generics as a preview of what we can kind of expect out of the limited format, because generics are a lot of times your bread and butter. We've seen that time and time again. Like you look at Mystics, because you can do the Mystic deck, since the Mystics were kind of our generics of the set. Hand Behind the Pen, 2 cost, 6 attack, 2 block. When this hits a hero, turn a card in their arsenal face up, then banish a non-attack action card from their arsenal. It's similar to Wreak Havoc, right, from Outsiders, except instead of targeting defense reactions, it's targeting non-attack actions. And this is a whole series. We have a 2 cost, a 1 cost, and a 0 cost. The 1 cost is Smash Up. When this hits a hero, turn a card in their arsenal face up, then banish an attack action card from their arsenal. 1 for 5 that blocks 2. And then Tongue Tied. When this hits a hero, turn a card in their arsenal face up, then banish an instant card from their arsenal. Sorry, not a cost 0. Cost 3. It's a 3 for 7. Blocks for 2. I like these a lot. I don't know
I'll accept Tongue Tied because they're gonna just chain the instant.
No. Tongue Tied is what? It's a 3 for 7. 3 for 7s are good and limited. 3 for 7 says Unga Bunga, give me 3 cards if you're at 1 health.
Yes, limited good. Limited I'm not worried about. I'm worried about how these translate to CC. The problem is most of the time instants just get chained to it, so you're not really going to get any value except you bait the instant out early. And they block 2. And I feel like if you're playing a 7 cost block 2 in this next set, you're playing Finals Fighting Spirit, because it's a 0. It's a 2 for what, or a 3 for, I don't know.
Finals Fighting Spirit is a 3 for 7 that you gain life if
plus
you're less.
1 plus 1 ping for arcane. You're getting an astronomical value.
We don't know if Finals
in
Fighting Spirit is in this next set.
I don't.
It would be an okay guess, but we already have 1 3 for 7 at the rare slot, so maybe
we don't need it. We don't need it to be in the set. The fact that it's a promo is good enough. I just know Finals Fighting Spirit's gonna be in every Verdant deck. Okay, everyone.
True.
Would make sense for the limited format. Just as a 3 for 7 for Verdants, just to throw something big.
I like the 1 cost a lot. Smash Up, 1 for 5. So it presents an interesting break point, and that's the one that banishes an attack action.
Now that I like, and that might even CC play in some occasion, because it's another way of seeing in an extent.
Yeah, Spider's Bite into that.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the power cards, but it can attack the value decks. Notably, KO can run it as a 6. So it's a disruptive 1-for-5 that KO can run as well.
Man, he's got too much Arsenal hate already. They give him more.
Yeah, give him more.
That's so crazy. How many more cards are you going to give him to hit the Arsenal?
All 3 of these cards are playable in KO. I don't know if you'd want to play Tongue-Tied in KO. I don't think you're ever going to get your value off of it, but it's a thing.
Stop giving him Arsenal hate cards.
Okay. That's it for the spoilers. I'm assuming we won't get anything else until we see maybe Gen Con. Maybe we'll get something before that.
I want to say that there's 1 or 2 things coming up at like different events. I was looking around on the website a while ago. Give me a second and I'll look it up. I think there might be.
So, Pro Tour had a pretty expected meta. I don't think anyone was surprised when like 35% of the meta was all misspell heroes. Enigma is a little bit more represented than we thought, right?
Yes.
So I did think she was going to be notable. And how close was I on my like top 5 heroes? Let's see. Had it up.
I thought we called it well. Just the numbers that we put on some of the heroes were like flip-flopped.
I think I called it exactly.
Oh,
Zen, Nu, KO, Enigma, Azalea.
That was the KO wasn't in the top of day.
Oh, that's
2.
the calling. Hold on.
Yeah.
Man, why is okay? I really like the live blog and the photography. Shout out to the photographers. The photography that they did for this event was fantastic. So if you look at the pictures in the live blog, it's just so well done.
Yeah, they are really stepping up the game with everything. Real quick, on the official website, they have a tab for Rosetta spoilers, and everything that was revealed at Pro Tour Amsterdam is listed here.
Mm-hmm.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 question mark sections that are listed off for Battle Hardened Melbourne, Battle Hardened Sao Paulo, Calling Manila, and Battle Hardened San Diego. So we are going to be getting a few more things here in the next little while.
Cool. Okay, so I wasn't spot on because I am sure I put Azalea in my top 5 when Prism was the 4th most represented, followed by KO. 90 Zen, 72 Nu, 32 Enigma, 32 Prism, 31 KO, 25 Azalea, 21 Victor, and then it starts to drop off from there. Kano, Dash, Levia. Other than the like really, really extreme like third of the meta being MST, it looks like an okay distribution. Warrior is like gone. There were 10 warriors.
They did all right in the day 2 conversion though. We're only having 10 warriors.
0 rune blades. Goose egg on the rune blades. Not a single rune blade.
94% of warriors converted to day 2, just so we're aware.
So 90 Zens. So if you did not go into this meta with a game plan for Zen, you probably did not do well.
Well, I mean,
roughly 20%.
We all knew.
I think it's like 16 or 17. It's a right 90. No, you're right. It's like 20%. Man, so many Zen.
Prism had more shares than I expected. Azalea had a little less shares than I expected.
Same.
And that's about it. But like we already knew it was going to be MST. KO was high and Azalea was high. Victor was going to be up there as well, and even KO. Like of all the decks we would have put into the you need to play this is pretty much the entire. We would have put Dash and what's her face, Levia as well. This is almost identical to the other tier list we made from like way back. If we could have just went back and did that episode and put it up again.
Exactly that. Like we don't need to discuss a tier list because we've already it didn't change.
It didn't change. No, it didn't. These are still the heroes that people are pushing forward. But what did change is who won it.
Yeah. So the top 8 was the best we could possibly hope for considering the meta, right? We would definitely like a more diverse set of heroes in the top 8, and I think the calling was extremely diverse top 8. But the Pro Tour top 8 was the best we could probably hope for. It was 3 Zen, 3 New, 1 Azuri, 1 Leviah. Might be the highest placement of Leviah ever, would be top 8 of the Pro Tour.
So
that'd be the highest placement at a high tier event. So congratulations to him, even though he got destroyed. Zen versus Leviah, what do you expect? The reason I say it's the best top 8 we could hope for is that going into the bracket, it wasn't going to be a Zen versus Zen finals. We were going to get an interesting final, most likely. And boy, did we get some interesting games. The reason why you couldn't have a Zen finals was because 2 of the Zens were bracketed together, and then the third Zen was on the same side of the bracket as the 2 Zens.
Yeah, it was like all of the ninjas on one half and all of the assassins on the other half. All of the ninjas and Leviah, and then all of the assassins in the other half of the bracket. I mean,
it was very interesting.
Interesting. That's the word.
I do like that it wasn't a Zen v Zen final. Not that I guess it's not fun, but I mean,
if you're into watching like 5-minute games.
No, I was wrong about the calling being more diverse. It was not.
Yeah, I was waiting for it when we got there because it sure was. It sure wasn't.
I think I was thinking about maybe Living Legend or something.
You were thinking about Living Legend, which Kano won, which I think is absolutely mind blowing. Not really, because it's Kano, but it's like,
also Alexander Vor. The dude is a beast.
But it's like Shane's there and Starvo's there, dude. And they go, "What about Kano?"
Dude, the people who top 8'd the Living Legend are all like beast players. There's so many recognizable names.
Oh yeah, they're legends. They're actually living legends.
Yeah, Vespa, Alex Vor, Liam,
former US champ,
Nova-chan. Like, so yeah, the top 8. I was really excited to watch it. I'd already resigned to Zen was gonna be really strong. New is a foil to Zen. She's gonna be really strong. You know, a lot of Zens. You bring New. You gem into the Zens who are winning. If you win against one, you might win against the next one, and just ride Zens all the way to the finals. That's your hope. So was I surprised at how effective Azuri was at tearing New apart?
It makes sense though. It makes sense. How are you going to keep your full hand playing against another assassin that literally is going to tear your hand apart just as hard as you're going to tear your hand? Like, how do you do it?
So it's hard, actually. Like Xing said on Twitter, Uzuri is hard, actually.
Yeah, dude,
just
Xing
because
is a great player. Incredible
the fact
player.
that Uzuri wants to play on 2-card hands, and that's about the average that Nu is wanting to rip from somebody, and she can present relevant disruption every single turn with those 2-card hands. I can see how that was a very difficult matchup.
So we're talking about a little bit out of order, but Xing from Team Blue Pitch really struggled into dealing with the decision points against Shoma. I think this is a combination of Azuri, especially that deck list, is favored. We mentioned earlier in the episode that it was notable that Azuri teched very heavily for this meta. One of the things that she had 0 of, no AB.
Yep.
And Shoma, he definitely called the meta. He said, there won't be any Rune Blades. I just dodged the wizards. And he was right. He didn't even bring AB1. He didn't need it.
No AB, already deads.
No already deads. And that's why is that? Because like you throw the already dead out, they blocked with all their armor and they're killing you anyway because it's all blade break.
It's just not there are better 6 costs, Weakest Link, Amnesia, way better 6 costs. And it's an assassin, so it has access to just a Nick Persuasive Prognosis. Like it has access to the same things that Nu wants to do, but technically does it better in a way.
Persuasive Prognosis is so good in Azuri. It's just this damned if you do, damned if you don't like card that she could put out. It's like in
1-cost stealth,
like on crack.
Does she flip it or does she buff it? It's the worst mind game ever.
It is, dude. I was watching it with knowledge of what both hands are, and I'm like, I don't know what I would do here, even if I knew both hands. Man, I think it was.
Oh, that feels awful. I don't even want to think about that decision.
We'll talk about the finals. I got to remember to talk about that yellow shred. But anyway, let's go back up to the top. Bartosz versus Tom Tydex, which is a Zen versus Zen matchup. It came down to a traditional aggro mirror, I believe, where the person who went second ended up pulling the win. I mean, that's what you get for being first seed, right? Next was the Incredible Pudding Tam versus Kevin Janker on Levia. So Zen versus Levia. This is cursed. Ninja into Levia is just cursed. You basically never get to flip. Levia wants to take games out to turn 8 or 9 unless she gets lucky. That's not going to happen against Zen. It didn't happen. We saw him get pretty salty. I heard that he just is always, that's his attitude. He's always kind of salty, very expressive and emotional. Some people are just like that. I don't think there was any offense meant, but that's just how he is. So the thing happened, right? He goes, break Savage Sash, Art of War, hitting the Shadowpeed, pitching a red to do it. Shadowpeed go again, and then he plays Shadow Realm Horror, and he has 3 misses in his graveyard and like 7 hits, and hits 2 of the misses, and his turn ends immediately after breaking the Savage Sash. Like,
that's so brutal.
Yeah, I think he had upwards of 13 more damage to present on that turn. This is with, so it would have been a 26 damage turn or so without a Blood Rush Bellow, and instead it was 13 damage, and he intellect penaltied himself, and just no chance after that. So the reason why people don't play Levia live on stream. Then we had the New versus Azuri matchup, which we talked about. Shoma picked it up on Azuri. And then we had Tariq Patel versus Gabe Scher on New versus New. And that was the maximum degeneracy I've seen in the New mirror. And the New mirror is always degenerate, right? It's like who gets the better blue banishes. But man, I think in the post interview, Gabe's like, I just kind of saw it. It lined up. And then I think he threw what, like 3 Bonds of Agony in a single turn.
At least 2. And he used Tariq's Sacred Art to do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
getting that Sacred Art into the banish zone was crazy.
Dude, he played both Sacred Arts in 1 turn.
Yeah,
because I think I lost focus or something at some point, or maybe I like jumped through and missed it. But I popped in and I saw 2 Slithers and 2 Fang Strikes. I'm like, did he just forget to put them away? And I'm like, no, those were active. He had those cards. Man,
Gabe's list was actually really interesting because he did not have Mask of Recurring Nightmares at all. He was on a very, very light chi version of New.
And however, the use of Traverse the Universe is what gave him that incredible turn. It's, man. That was really exciting to see. And then he went up against Shoma, and Shoma scammed him. He kind of scammed Xing, absolutely scammed Gabe. So the Shoma took the win with a Just Nick against Xing, and took the win against Gabe with 2 Just Nick versus Gabe. I looked at Just Nick, I'm like, this seems like a great assassin card, but would you really play it in Azuri? And apparently the answer is yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently, yes.
It's the ultimate mind game, like we talked about. You have no idea if a flop's coming in or if it's just going to get buffed.
No one expects the double Just Nick, I guess.
No, I don't ever expect it.
And
you can't expect it.
I was jumping ahead a little bit because I'm like, man, I don't think I could go through another like 65-minute game of Azuri versus New. And I like jumped forward a little bit. I'm like, it was well into the next match. I'm like, what happened? And I like, this was a 25-minute match. I'm gonna go back to 0 and watch it from the start.
Yeah, Shoma just straight up took his lunch money. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, it was rude. Before the game even started, you can see Gabe sitting there like offering a prayer up to whoever.
Yeah.
I was sitting there in chat trying not to type it out and go, well, that didn't work at all, but it was rough. That was a rough game to watch.
We then we also got to see Bartosz take on Pudding, and I think it came down kind of to the same thing. Zen versus Zen, Agromir. Bartosz is the higher seed. He goes second. He wins the game. Pudding did some some really good play lines that I thought he could have tried to extract the value, but it kind of gets down to that point where if you don't threaten lethal, you lose. No matter how much damage you deal, if you didn't take 2 or 3 cards out of the Zen's hand, you're not winning, and that's what happened. He lost out, and Bartaj moves on to the finals. So now it's Bartaj on Zen versus Shoma on Azuri.
Two-time Pro Tour finalist Bartaj.
Yep, Bartaj is an incredible player. Notably, this is Shoma's first major event, maybe first event ever. I know he is considered green.
First time internationally traveling.
Yeah,
he was a finalist at the Japanese Nationals this year.
So,
but he lost to one of his locals.
Yeah, clearly a killer player because he piloted the Azuri deck to perfection, and I want to bring it back to that yellow shred. That card dealt so much mental fatigue to Bartosz. I think he intellect penaltied himself with a yellow shred for like 4 turns. I think that yellow shred got like 18 points of value by just chilling in his hand. Because Bartosz just kept going, no blocks. Do what you're gonna do. And Shoma's just like, I will. And then I'll do it again next turn. And you know, sometimes you play against Azuri, right? And you're like, okay, I get to do my thing if Azuri just doesn't have this one card. It could be any other card. As long as it's not this one card, I'm fine. And then she's like, amnesia. And you're like, that was the card. That was the one I couldn't deal with. And she had it every time. Like, you saw Bartosz try to assemble a turn.
Felt so bad for him, man.
Yeah.
Just sitting there watching his face. Oh,
I think it's like
dude.
turn 1 or 2. He loses 2 transcend cards, get banished, and you see his body language just die right there. He knows he's in trouble. He knows he's down to 6 of them in the deck. Even once he starts getting them flipped, there's less in the deck for him to shuffle and draw naturally, right? Ooh, man. The weakest links, the amnesias, the arsenal hate. It's
brutal.
It was surgical.
It was a masterclass on Uzuri. It absolutely was. All of Shoma's games were an absolute masterclass on Uzuri.
It makes you wonder how he was 7th seed. By the way, the low seed trend goes on. Like, I mean,
there was a whole lot of illusionists in the meta, and
I was going to say, Azuri's got some tough matchups. You saw he had to pick the pieces to try and navigate around some of those illusionists, but like, let's be real. I mean, how good is pick the pieces going to be? I mean, you have just Nick and some shreds to kind of get through some of that, but I think he just knew the heroes really well, and if anything, he was doing exactly what we said. He's targeting the Zens, he's targeting the news, and it worked out because there was 160 of them. You're gonna play a lot of them. So,
knowing what I know now, like with how effective she is versus the MST, at least Zen and New, it should have been clear that Shoma was going to take the win. That was a very dominant performance. I'm excited to see what else Shoma does in the future. I hope he keeps traveling. And dude, his reaction in the awards ceremony.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to talk about that.
Dude, trophy, I can handle it. Brings out the special edition Azuri, and he loses it, and it's just so precious.
That's what hit him. That was beautiful.
Yep,
that was absolutely beautiful.
You can tell it's his hero. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why he plays Flesh and Blood. Like, he's like, yeah, I like Azuri. You know, win, lose, rain, shine. Like, I really stuck to my hero that I really wanted to play, and it shows. And so
hero
it's always
great.
great.
This game is so powerful.
Oh, it's why I think 95%, you know, if not 100% of the people play the game. It's feels better than just I've got these colors or I've got this archetype. I've got a hero. I've got a hero that I really want to play. I like my hero.
Even if you aren't a specialist, like, you still feel an identity when you like commit to a hero, build up with them, and like you get to do fun things. Like, I wore the Shrek hat when I played Riptide, so you get to have fun with it, and it is a lot of fun. So congrats to everybody who went,
really,
who competed.
Congrats to Charles Dunn for winning the calling, by the way. Absolute legend. Congratulations.
So that was a really fun Pro Tour. I was a little down on it because of what the meta was looking like, but it still ended up being a really exciting top 8 with a complete upset at the end, which may or may not reinforce some people's misguided thoughts about the meta being 100% okay. It's not awful. It could be better. It's okay for there to be a best deck in format. So let's just deal with it. I guess
everybody will forget about MST when Rosetta comes out.
Buy your assassin cards.
Yeah, they're not
Don't
moving
buy 'em
too
right now.
much. Yeah, they're really not. But I'd wait a second.
If you want to win, just go out and spend the money. Go beat up on some Zeds.
I think Uzuri really took that one based off of everybody kind of downplaying it too. Like I think Uzuri always has that in the shadows kind of a feel where it's like you don't counter out, but you just don't play for her, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I should have been practicing Uzuri. And so Uzuri might slink away for a bit and then come back and steal another one. That's just how the hero works. We've seen it before. We've seen it before. Uzuri come up and snatch things out of nowhere. We go, oh, is it real? And then a lot of people jump on it. It's like, it's too much tech for it. Then goes away, flutters away, and comes right back. So you never know.
I will say Uzuri is a really fun hero to play.
She's fun to play against too, honestly. Like disruption and stuff can be frustrating, but like when you successfully navigate the puzzles of disruption and come out on top, it is really satisfying compared to just, number back and forth.
Yeah, it feels good to look at the grave, count the cards, okay, think about the turn,
and go,
why'd they
no
keep
blocks,
the card,
and they go, dang it, I really needed you to block because I didn't have anything.
I got these spreading plagues. This was the time you were supposed to block.
We saw some nasty spreading plagues too.
That card makes me like actually ill. Like I know that's the point. It's a spreading plague, but I want you to know how many gotchas I've had with that. I have like a despise for that card. I know it's so good, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, you block with your 3 block, a 2 block, and a piece of armor, and they go spreading plague, and you go, I'm dead. I just lost 2 cards, a piece of armor, and I'm still taking 6. This sucks.
Oh, it feels so bad. It feels so bad. Oh, anyway. Donnie, where can everybody find you on social media?
I will continue to be found over the next month and a half, 2 months-ish at DracoHominis87 on Twitter and most other social medias. I will also still be writing my twice-a-month articles for Fabric.gg, where you can find me as Donnie K. And if you see Siblings in Cardboard podcast pop up on any of the live streams that are happening for any of the events, that's probably going to be me still.
It is. Even if you start saying weird things like I don't eat bananas, I promise you, it's still him.
Y'all make sure you bug him.
Yeah.
He'll be busy.
This is your interaction with him.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I like talking.
And he'll be in the Cult of New Discord as well.
Oh yeah.
And if you haven't joined that, it's in our description in the video link. And news hot in more ways than one. So get on in there. Oh yeah. Thomas, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitter at WetTheSystemFab, or all over Discord as WetTheSystem. Pretty unique name. You should be able to find me.
It is a unique name. I'm at BigMaxFab on Twitter, twitch.tv/BigMax. I sometimes will stream. Definitely need to do another streaming session on the actual Siblings YouTube, but I'll always post beforehand. And I'm also on Discord as just BigMax, just BIGMACZ. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one. Shouldn't be too hard to find. But if anybody has anything else, thank you for joining us, everybody. We hope you enjoyed catching up with us this week. And if you did, subscribe or follow, depending on where you found us, to catch us again. Until then, take care of yourselves, and remember, we're all siblings in cardboard. And just because those new meld cards are coming out doesn't mean Pummel gets any different. You still got to discard it. There's no 2 halves to discarding the card of Pummel. You just throw it in the grave.
Rip it.
And you got DG. You got DG too. No IP penalties. By the way, thank you, Europe, for playing nice. Appreciate it.
Later, everybody.